Hey guys, I'm Indiana Jones and I'm here with 15 micro mods for 1.20.1 and I hope you enjoy. You guys are probably wondering what's with the intro, and the first mod I'm going to be looking at is called Indiana Jones's Items. So with this mod, it adds a bunch of items that you can like find. I think you can find in chests. I'm not too sure. If you can't, you'll probably have to do it as like a quest item for other mods. But you get a few different like ores that you can find throughout your world. A couple of them you can make into your own tool sets. You can find guns. You can find like all sorts of stuff in all the Indiana Jones movies, like the items I have here. And there's just a bunch of other stuff. There's a soup of the head and some tools, a music disc, and so on, called Disc Delight. And with this, there's just a bunch of music discs you can find. There's some YouTube songs you can actually find, and then there's just the ones that are just made up. The way you obtain these is you basically just find them in structures and stuff like that. It's pretty simple music mod. It just adds a ton more music. This is kind of a funny coincidence, but the next mod we're going to be looking at is called Tax's Music Villager. And with this, you can have a few different types of villagers with their own professions. And with them, you can obtain different music discs and stuff like that. Some better than others. And you could just like keep upgrading them to get like better. They also sell regular music. But yeah, there's just a bunch of stuff like this. There's some just a big variety of like custom made songs. The next mod we're gonna be looking at is called Masked, and it adds a mask for each color and just a bunch of ways to make them. But with each one, you use one of these scrolls that you find in like structures and dungeons and stuff. Combine it with like whatever color mask you want to get its own, and it adds usually one armor bar. But yeah, it's just a nice little mask mod to bicep your world if you want some masks. So the next mod we're gonna be looking at is called Happy Ghast, which you might be kind of surprised to see, because it's part of the new update. So with the Happy Ghast, you collect this dried ghast with a pickaxe from Nether, and then you put a block of water on it. When it's finally in the water long enough, it'll turn into a little ghast like this. So with this little ghast, if you don't want to wait the actual like time it takes to like get him, you just use slime balls. Then you eventually will tame him, and after you tame him, you can actually use slime balls to slow down the time. So when you slow down the time, of course, it'll grow up. So I skipped up to right before it'll grow up. Then when it grows up, you will have to feed it again to give it more snowballs. After that, you put a harness on him, whatever type you want, and now you can just stand on him and place blocks or do whatever, fly him around. The next mod we're going to be looking at is a really cool armor mod. So with this mod, it adds a bunch of weird looking trims. I mean, they do look a tad bit strange to me, but with this mod, you can actually make any of these trims. So with the recipe, like so, make this one, but we're gonna like show off these two sets. So this is what the banana set looks like, and it has its own texture. Looks like I have a little blanket on my shoulders, and now there's the Mikey's helmet, which I think I already showed the recipe, but there's it again, and it looks like so. And there's just a few other armor sets like this, and some of them look different, some look the same, but each one of the trims are craftable. So if you really want to play this mod, you can craft all your trims and stuff. My eyes line up perfectly. The next mod we're gonna be looking at is called the Armor Update, and with this mod, it adds quite a few sets, but some of the sets, like this one, I think this is the best set in the game actually for like this mod. But the recipes are really complicated, so you have to make this thing, which you use like that, and some complicated recipe. But so you use these things, and to make this thing, you use these things as well. But to make these things, they actually are quite spendy. So you use these, I guess you use these books right here with nether stars, which are kind of crazy, but they are what they are. Then you use this thing to make this block, and with this block, you use it to make this sword, which does a lot of damage, but you would have to kill 8 withers to obtain it, and that will take quite some time, so it's kind of worth it in the end. But there's a bunch of other items. There's Ditto right here, and this Ditto will actually turn into 2 different items, like a shield, like I got so I can defend myself. And then if I like swing my sword, I can turn it back into a sword. It does 7 attack damage. Then there's these powerless totems. So I make this one like so, and it gives me 1 extra heart. But then I could like use this to make all these up to the last one, like this one, which gives me 40 hearts. But it's really interesting mod. There's some unique items. The next mod we're gonna be looking at is called Bone Block Plus, and with this mod it adds Wither Bone Block, and you can turn this stuff into other blocks, like so using the stone cutter, and you could also use the regular bone block to make a couple other items, and you can also use stone cutter as well. Some of the cool items you can find in this thing is you can find that thing, which honestly would be really cool. You can find the head like that. You can also like have these for like the regular, like the wither skeleton bones. You can have a lantern. You can have some stairs, some trapdoors. There's just a bunch. This mod is called Highland Statue, and with Highland Statue, it spawns a giant statue in multiple different forms that spawn on flower forest, plains, oak forest, and that's probably it. The next mod we're going to be looking at is called Spanish Fort, and with Spanish Fort, it spawns a giant fort like this with its own spawner that spawns just a bunch of husks and just a giant area. So if you want to get attacked by a bunch of husks, be my guest. But I think that you'll be fine after you kill them all. And yeah, it even adds this little tower with like a little walkway across and a little gate right there. The next mod we're going to be looking at is called Traveling and Trading. With this mod, it adds this thing which you can use to make a villager profession. And with it, you get like a bunch of trades that you get from a wandering trader. Plus, you can also obtain this cloth right here, which you use to make armor, the table, and obtain this. I think you can also obtain this from wandering traders. And so far, then there's a set that if you have both pieces on, it gives you a good effect, and it also makes you look like a wandering trader and look absolutely bedazzling. Plus, there's the bejeweled apple that gives you the hero effect, and there's this cut emerald that you make from putting an emerald in a stone cutter. Use this to make blocks. The next mod we're going to be looking at is called Monchlets, and with Monchlets, it spawns 3 different types of creatures throughout your world, like this one, and you use raw chicken to tame it. It's a really cool thing. You can have it follow you, you can have it wandering, or you can have it just stay in one spot. So it's like wandering right now, and now it's following me. And then there's the mochi, which you use this kibble that you make from this bee larvae, which you find from breaking beehives. Like you have a chance to get the bee larvae from that. But you use this to tame this guy. Oh my gosh, he takes a lot, but you tame that guy, and he fights for you. He's a really cool looking thing. And then there's this guy that you use the bee larvae for. And I guess it follows around this guy. Well, I didn't know that, but some really interesting, unique creatures if you don't want to have the same old pets all the time. The next mod we're going to be looking at is called Mineral Lined Ores. And with this mod, it adds ores that you can put in the lines of like all sorts of bricks, with adding amethyst and quartz as well. There's redstone, there's quartz right there. And there's some diamond ones, but you make them with like the surrounding the material with a diamond or whatever material you want to use, including like amethyst. There's pretty much a type for every brick, so every type of mineral for every type of brick, so mud bricks, quartz bricks, and so forth. The next model we'll be looking at is called Tools and Quirks, and with Tools and Quirks, you can make a tool for each type of wood, and they have really good textures. But something that I find really unique about it is you make a handle instead, and you make them like this to make the items with some slabs and some things like that, but you make these handles like so. But then you also make this, and with this you like put it with the shank, which you make like so. But you use this shank, make all sorts of other materials as well, like the stripped stock and the bamboo stock. With the stripped stock and the bamboo stocks, you use it to make some bamboo tools, and yeah. My favorite ones so far of the wood sets are the warp. The next mod we're going to be looking at is called Chris's Additions. With this mod, it adds a ton of different blocks and things you can use to upgrade your builds, and all of them you can obtain from using them in a stone cutter, or you can use them in a craft table. And there's just a never-ending supply of them. There's some building blocks, like the torches. There's that thing right there. And there's just some pillars, some pots, just a bunch of furniture of all sorts of colors and some tools and so on. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you're having a good day. And if you want to see more, maybe hit that sub. That would mean a lot. And I will see you in the next one. Peace.